Well, here's where this war stands tonight. Nearly 2 weeks into this conflict, the official story is already cracking, and the number of Americans wounded is slowly coming out. Now, yesterday we reported, based on our sources, that the number of American wounded was at least 137. Well, after our report ran, what do you know? The Pentagon has now publicly acknowledged about 140 wounded. That confirms our sources on this. So why did it take a little news show, like our little show here at Redacted, to report this information? Like, why wasn't Fox News reporting this information? The Pentagon, I know, it's really weird. Why is the mainstream media silent on this? So the Pentagon finally comes out and actually admits to this. If the number was this high, why did the American people hear so little about it until now? That's a great question. Well, now look at this. Sorry, I'm just going to pull my notes here.
Well, I guess Fox News likes to support the troops until they get hurt.
So Reuters comes out and reports this. Exclusive. As many as 150 U.S. troops wounded so far in Iran war. They just published this today, this morning. March 10th. That's remarkable. Exclusive. Just curious how that's an exclusive when we reported it yesterday. Whatever. Hey, Reuters, bite me. Anyway, this war is clearly not winding down, no matter what the messaging says. President Trump is saying the war could end very soon, but Iran says talks with the United States are off the table for now, that Tehran is prepared to keep striking as long as it takes, and they're vowing an eye for an eye. So what does an eye for an eye actually mean? Well, that's a great question. Does it mean, you killed our leader, we kill yours? Does it mean, hey, you killed all these girls who were the daughters of members of the Iranian Navy at a girls' school? Do we also do that to you? Like, what does actually an eye for an eye actually mean?
Does it mean we took out your water infrastructures, or you took out ours, so we do that?
Right.
Your gas infrastructure, civilian infrastructure, that's a war crime, but we did it.
Your oil infrastructure, we do that? Like, what exactly does that look like? Meanwhile, the Strait of Hormuz is getting worse by the minute. U.S. intelligence tracking Iranian mine-laying threats now as Gulf energy infrastructure there is taking a major hit with about 1.9 million barrels per day of refining capacity across Bahrain, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. All down. CBS now says shipping through the Strait of Hormuz has ground to a virtual halt. Nothing getting through. That's of just a few minutes ago. And Israel's hammering Beirut's southern suburbs in Lebanon. So they've essentially invaded Lebanon. It's a shitstorm. And then there's the neocon political class in Washington saying the quiet part out loud. Senator Lindsey Graham, your favorite warmonger, is now openly talking about, going back to South Carolina to tell the sons and daughters in South Carolina, you got to send your loved ones to the Middle East. That's what I'm doing here in South Carolina. I got to tell them to go fight in the Middle East. And he's calling on other Middle East countries that have been sitting on the fence that we've supported over the years as allies. Get off the fence. Go bomb Iran. Help out with Iran. And oh, by the way, Spain, we're pissed off at you because you don't want us using your air bases or airspace to bomb Iran. Listen.
Up to our allies, step up. Get our air bases out of Spain. They're not reliable. Move all those airplanes to a country that would let us use them when we're threatened by a regime like Iran. To our friends in Spain, man, you have lost your way. I don't want to do business with you anymore. I want our air bases out of Spain into a country that will let us use them. To our Arab friends, I've tried to help you construct a new Mideast. You need to up your game here. I can't go to South Carolina and say we're fighting and you won't publicly fight. What you're doing behind the scenes, that has to stop. The double dealing of the Arab world when it comes to this stuff needs to end. I go back to South Carolina. I'm asking them to send their sons and daughters over to the Mideast. What I want you to do in the Mideast, to our friends in Saudi Arabia and other places, step forward and say, this is my fight too. I join America. I'm publicly involved in bringing this regime down. If you don't, you're making a great mistake and you're going to cut off the ability to have a better relationship with the United States. I say this as a friend.
Ugh, he's an odious friend.
Say this as a friend. With
Why
friends,
not pick up a gun and go fight yourself, you coward?
Yeah.
Like, I freaking hate that. But you're just calling so like bluntly for somebody else to go die for his stupid cause.
Yeah.
Like, go fight it yourself.
I would love that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I am so curious about this. I mean, he's a liar, but how many people in South Carolina are really walking up to him and saying, who are we going to get to fight with us? Who are we going to get to fight Iran? Worried about this. My son can go, but who's going with him? Let's make some war play dates. Who does that?
Larry Johnson is a former CIA analyst, NRA gun trainer, and he's been looking at all of this and doing some incredible writing over at his website, Sonar 21. Larry, thank you for joining us. Great to see you back on the show.
Hey, guys. Good to see you.
So I want to talk about the American war wounded first, because I know that this is near and dear to your heart, and of course something that you've been watching closely, and the lies, of course, that are coming out about this. Again, I spoke to sources over the past 48 hours that were telling us here at Redacted about 137 Americans wounded, and then the Pentagon comes out and then confirms about 140, so pretty much right on the nose. And does that number sound low to you, or does that sound about right?
That sounds a little low. So on March 4th, let's go to Germany, Stuttgart, just west of Germany. There is a hospital called Landstuhl Regional Medical Center. Landstuhl's primary mission is to handle American war wounded. On March 4th, they issued a memo telling all the pregnant women that were about to give birth that, sorry, don't come here. We're not birthing any more babies. We got to focus on our main mission. So that was the first clue that there were a lot of casualties inbound. I know, without mentioning his name, somebody who was involved dealing with the combat casualties during the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and he dealt with the personnel at Landstuhl, and he called someone up and said, I can't say anything, but there's a lot of casualties. Then 13 miles to the east of Landstuhl is an army base called Kaiserslautern. Kaiserslautern, and the Stars and Stripes issued for that base, had an appeal, a blood drive appeal. Hey, we need lots of people to show up and donate blood. So that was on March 5th. So I wrote about this March 6th. So I wrote about this 4 days ago. And we had a lot more casualties and there are more coming, because Iran's not going to stop. Right now we're getting signals that the Trump administration is reaching out, trying, hey, let's talk ceasefire. Iran's having none of it. They've been betrayed twice by Donald Trump and his group of clowns.
Right.
And so they're not ready to say no. They've got the world by the testicles, is the polite way of saying it, withholding the Strait of Hormuz. They've shut down the movement of not only oil, liquid natural gas. They're the supplier of about 25 to 30% of the world's liquid natural gas, and about 30 to 35% of the world's urea, which is used for fertilizer. Now, I just learned that may not be as important as I once thought it was, because most of it comes out of Oman. Oman, you don't have to worry about things going through the Strait of Hormuz. But on oil and liquid natural gas, huge. 94% of the Philippines dependent upon the flow of gas, both liquid and the petroleum oil, out of the Persian Gulf. India, 80%. Japan, South Korea. So this is going to have a major impact on certain economies in the world. Now, I've said this ironically. I think Vladimir Putin's sitting there going, maybe Donald Trump really does like me, because what he's done is he's making Russia rich again. In a way, I mean, they're getting, they were forced to sell their oil previously under sanctions at like $55 a barrel. Now they're getting $88, $90 a barrel.
Well, and they just opened it up to India. I mean, that story over the past 48 hours, so the United States has eased its restriction on Russian oil flowing to India. I mean, talk about an absolute disaster.
Well, yeah, and remember what had happened there is India was playing a double game too. BRICS, India is the I in BRICS, and Iran is the new I in BRICS. And so what was India doing? Well, India was pretending to play along with the United States, but then going to Russia and saying, "Hey, Russia, yeah, we'll buy your oil, but we needed a discount because we're going against the sanctions and we need to cover ourselves." So Russia said, "Okay, as a BRICS partner, we'll let you have it at 55. It was normally selling at 59. They let them have it for $55 a barrel. So they got a discount."
So, sorry.
Go ahead. Well,
no, please finish.
So now, when all of a sudden the oil tap is turned off, including the liquid natural gas, India goes running back to Russia. Now, remember, on February 25 and 26, India was in Israel, buttering up the rear end of Bibi Netanyahu, kissing rear end all they could. Oh, man, it was a love fest. We're partners with Israel. And then Israel attacks their BRICS partner. And what does India say? Nothing.
Right.
Zero. They don't say a thing about the murdered girls. So now, all of a sudden, the oil's turned off. It's 9 days now with no oil coming out of there for India. They go running back to Russia. "Hey, buddy, let's get back together." And Russia says, "Sure, that's great. But it's going to cost you $89 now a barrel. No more friends and family program. You're going to get market conditions." And so Russia's playing some diplomatic hardball, but being friendly about it. But they sent India a message on this. India, of all the countries in the world right now that are most damaged by this war, it will be India and its economy.
We've had many journalist friends that have had their bank accounts shut down. We were literally in the middle of an interview with a great journalist from the Gray Zone who found out that his banking was just shut down. Literally in the middle of an interview, he got a message that his banking was shut down. Well, Rumble Wallet prevents that because Rumble can't even touch it. No one can touch it. Rumble Wallet lets you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company, not even Rumble can touch it. It's yours, only yours to protect your future and your family. You can buy and save digital assets like Bitcoin, Tether Gold, and now the new USAT, which is Tether's U.S. regulated stablecoin, all in one place. Tether Gold is real gold on the blockchain with ownership of physical gold bars. And USAT keeps your money steady against inflation. No banks needed. It's not only a wallet to buy and save, but it also allows you to support your favorite creators by easily tipping them if you want. With the click of a button, there'll be no fees when you tip our channel or others. And we actually receive the tip instantly, unlike other platforms where we have to wait for payouts. So support our show today and other creators by clicking the tip button on our Rumble channel. It's wallet.rumble.com. Go to Rumble Wallet today, open an account, and step away from big banks for good. Wallet.rumble.com is the place to go.
Now, I want to ask you about President Trump responding to CBS News reports that there may be mines in the Strait of Hormuz. That doesn't make a ton of sense. He says we have no indication that they did, but they better not. But they are picking and choosing who gets to go through, and their allies can go through. So why would they mine their allies? What do we make of this? Do we need to respond to this at all?
Yeah, I don't think they've done it yet. But let's recall the last time Iran mined the Persian Gulf. They didn't mine the Strait of Hormuz. They mined farther up. It was 1987, 1988. Why did they do that? Well, in September of 1980, when Jimmy Carter and Zbigniew Brzezinski were still in office, the United States encouraged a guy named Saddam Hussein, don't know if you've ever heard of him, but they encouraged Saddam Hussein to launch a war against Iran. And then Ronald Reagan comes in with Donald Rumsfeld and Cap Weinberger, and by 1983 had provided chemical weapons, or the precursors that Iraq needed to build chemical weapons. And Iraq started using chemical weapons against Iran in 1983 and continued to do it in 84, 85, 86. During that entire time, Iran never retaliated with chemical weapons. They were not going, because they saw it as an act against God. They were serious about the religion. So 87, 88, they start dropping mines there in the Persian Gulf. Well, at that time, they didn't have all these missiles. So the United States Navy, a Navy SEAL, a good friend of mine, set up what was called the Hercules barge. And he had a Navy SEAL unit with him. And they fought off attacks by Iranian gunboats He had some Little Bird helicopters from the 160th, the Special Operations Wing of the Air Force. And we ended up disrupting the Iranian plan to mine the Gulf back then. Well, we couldn't do that today. We do not have that capability because Iran would blow us out of the water with drones and with missiles, as we've seen has been happening over the last 10 days. So the United States would be in a real pickle. I agree with you, Natalie, that I don't think Iran's ready to start laying mines because they've got standoff weapons. They've got shore-to-ship missiles they can fire. They've got drones that they can fire. So they're not in a situation where they need to close it off so that nobody can get out. Because just yesterday, Arachi, it was either Arachi or Ali Larijani, announced that any country that would expel the United States and Israel diplomats and military from their country, they'd get free passage. They'd get to take all the oil out they wanted.
Well, the president is responding to reports from CBS News, and he's saying the military hasn't told me this. I just wonder, and I'm spitballing here, who at CBS News might feed him this kind of intelligence, given that CBS is run by a proxy of the Mossad. I'm just curious.
Barry Weiss, by chance. Oh, my
I'm suggesting exactly that. And I have no intelligence, but it would make ideological sense to me.
No,
we are cynical bastards around here, Larry.
Actually, Natalie, you have a lot of intelligence connecting those dots. We've got a lot of stupid people in Washington that aren't connecting those dots. You know, I'm seeing all the Washington symptoms and signs that they're getting a little nervous in the service here. The other day, they leaked out the results of the National Intelligence Council memo or assessment that had been prepared prior to the war, warning, you're not going to get regime change out of Iran. Now, normally that remains secret. It's top secret. But that got leaked. And why did that get leaked? Because the intelligence community is now positioning itself saying, when this thing turns into a floating turd, it's not our fault. We told you not to do it, you did it. General Raisin Kane, Dan Kane, he did the same thing after they tried to talk Trump out of doing this. And, one of his underlings went out and talked to 3 different media outlets. So you can tell things are starting to come apart at the seams because this war is not working out as they planned. And the bottom line is this. They're wanting Iran to agree to some deal to ceasefire. Iran, mark my words, Iran is not going to agree to a ceasefire. They're going to keep this war going until at such point the United States will negotiate with them and end all sanctions on Iran at a minimum.
I want to ask you this, Larry. Reports from inside the Trump administration that there are war hawks inside the Trump administration that desperately want to take the island of Kharg.
God. I hope they're the first ones on the boat.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just lay this out for our audience. Here's a picture of this island. Now, for those in our audience that don't know, this is arguably one of the most important pieces of land in the world. This is where 90% of all the oil flows from Iran is out of Kharg Island. 90%. And I had to, when I saw those statistics over the past 48 hours, I had to do a double take and confirm 90% of all the Iranian oil flows from this little island, this airfield. To my mind, it's only about 4 miles long, 2 miles wide. And it is difficult to defend from an American perspective. So there are those in the Trump administration who want to take this piece of land from which to be able to launch attacks to prevent any oil flows out of the Strait of Hormuz into the rest of the world. This sounds like an absolute disaster if the Americans try to take this. But what do you think about this?
Oh, yeah. I hope that the ones that advocate that, put them in uniform, put them at the front of the column. They go in first. Because, they forget that one of the largest producers of drones in the world, one of the innovators is Iran. And Iran got its drones thanks to the CIA. Most people don't know that. That famous triangle drone we've been looking at. Iran brought one of those down 12 years ago, and then they copied it. And that was a CIA drone at the time. CIA was sort of the leader in it. So once you get U.S. troops on that island, they're not going to have any cover. They're not going to have time to build shelter, that would resist all these drones. I mean, Iran wouldn't have to land troops on Kharg Island to take it back. All they'd have to do is kill them with drones, as we've seen in the war in Ukraine, for God's sake. Are these people not paying attention? I mean, really, I'm insulted by the level of stupidity.
It is. Well, we've heard from the Trump administration the surprise about being attacking our military bases in the region. Like, where did the surprise come from? You've been on our show for 3 years talking about if we attack Iran, B is what is going to happen. They are going to attack our military that are stationed in Bahrain, in Qatar, and these other locations. And that's exactly what happened.
And especially given the rhetoric of U.S. war hawks in power for 3 decades. Yes, they kind of had to prepare all of this time. Did we think that they weren't paying attention when we said it to the world?
Well, when we're writing our own press clippings and then reading them, there is a tendency to say, God, I am great. Can you see this? How good we are? So they really believed that our air defense, the Patriot air defense systems and the THAAD systems they could shut down the Iranian missiles and drones. And what they discovered was, nope, they didn't work. And they worked at an even lower level than, Pentagon kept saying, we're shooting down 90%.